Hey y'all, it's January the 2nd, 2018. I want to talk for a little bit this morning about something that we talk about sometimes on this channel. It's not really the purpose of this channel, but more often than not, eventually we get around to it. And that's Donald Trump. All right, like I said, it's 2018, the beginning of what can only be a stupidly rememberable year. All right, so we're here to talk about Donald Trump, and the reason I brought it up is because I've been seeing things in the news and stuff. People are reflecting upon 2017, and a big part of their reflection that they're having on the news or the mainstream news outlets on the internet, the main reflection that they're having is that they absolutely were literally raped and murdered and pillaged by Donald Trump. All right, and of course that's not true, but this is definitely how they refer to it. I just woke up this morning, I was looking at some memorable news clips, if you're going to call them that, comedy shows, if you want to call them that, where people are literally talking about crying and weeping in the streets when Donald Trump won the election. Crying and weeping. Every time people found out he won another state, there would be dejection and things like this, and of course that is in New York City, and this has already been established. All right, you know what I'm saying? Of course that was in California. People were crying. Okay, it's a mental illness, but we're gonna discuss it more in a second. The people in flyover states, what's already been established, it's becoming very much common terminology, common vernacular. The people over the flyover states, here, I gotta let y'all know, we weren't crying. Here in Big Spring, nobody was crying. Nobody was crying except for tears of joy. You might say, well, what is Donald Trump, your God? No, he's not. Hillary Clinton deserves to be in jail. There's no debating that, really. All right, people would like to see her investigated. She's the worst of the worst. Nobody has problems against ladies. We have problems against Hillary goddamn Clinton, and she lost. She lost in a miserable failure that is her life. All right. And so we were so very happy about that. So very happy. It could have been anybody, but to sweeten the deal, it was a businessman. I heard old ladies and young children alike saying, you know what we could use in the White House is a businessman, right? Because we want money. We don't have enough, and we want it. We're willing to go to work, get that money. What we want is a businessman up in there. What we want is him to say rhetoric to include, let's make America great, because we knew it used to be great. It had nothing to do with your slavery and your bigotry and your everything else. America used to be great. In fact, we can make it great. In fact, we can make it better than it ever was. You gotta understand, there's people over here in these flyover states who believe that, and there ain't nothing that you could do to change their mind about that. All right, so it really is like diving into a parallel universe when you hear about people from New York, from California, from these coastal states talking about, oh, this is Armageddon. Oh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. Oh, we're all practically dying and burning right now. We're a year into it. How many of y'all died and burned because of Donald Trump? Why don't y'all take a tally up? How many of y'all are in the poorhouse? Why? Because of Donald Trump. right? I know this whole deal. 14 million Americans lost their health coverage. I never had health coverage. Why don't you talk about me? Oh, you don't want to talk about me. You don't want to talk about the American who never had health coverage all throughout this Obama thing. You don't want to talk about those people. All right. People were weeping and crying in the streets. I want to explain that is a mental disorder. All right. Perhaps weeping and crying in the streets would be appropriate for when a president gets shot down. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Perhaps then it's so appropriate. It's not appropriate when over half the country, if you want to call it half the country, and I know you want to talk about the popular vote, you understand that they rigged the elections. Oh, no, you don't understand that. Okay, so half the country at least wanted Donald Trump in the presidency. So how in the world would it be appropriate for people to get their feelings all hurt and weep and cry in the streets and scream at the sky like some damn retards? How appropriate is that? And they've been doing it for a whole year now. Let's find out if they have the strength and the energy enough to weep and cry in the streets for another year. Meanwhile, people over in these flyover states, we've been getting jobs. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry we've been getting jobs and money. Ooh, I'm sorry about that, because apparently that wasn't part of y'all's plan at all. Those who are weeping and crying, they weren't so much concerned about the jobs that are coming off trees like crab apples over here. You understand? They're more, I don't know, they're more concerned about the environment. How do you think the environment's going to look when we're all piss poor? How do you think the environment's going to look? All right. That's a question that I've been asking people, but they don't have an answer for me. All they have is the answer of Donald Trump is going to rape and pillage us. Eventually, one day, we're sure of it. We're sure that he's going to do that. I want to draw your attention back to when I was younger, a lot younger. George W. Bush was elected for the second time. Now, the great majority of America did not care for that motherfucker. The thing is, between the choices of George W. Bush and whoever else, I cannot tell you because I don't remember. All right? They're that forgettable. What, Al Gore? All right. George Bush, when he won his second election, nobody wept and cried in the streets like little girls. You know that they didn't, right? You know that they didn't. People were upset. Maybe they threw tomatoes at his little caravan and stuff like this. Nobody wept and cried in the streets like little girls. And it was very upsetting. And it was, you know what I'm saying? The whole thing of it was quite desperate. We had absolutely no choices in that election. Wasn't nobody creeping. It wasn't nobody weeping and crying in the damn streets. Nobody was acting like a little old, soft, little tiny girl. Nobody was acting like that. But however, that is appropriate now. Somehow that is appropriate now. Somehow when people hear about, me getting more money, they get very upset. That when people hear about me getting my tax money back, people get very, very upset. All right? People are extremely... Here's the problem. People are very, very, very upset at and disturbed by the rhetoric of the American president, Donald Trump. That is where this all comes from. None of them can talk about his, the way that he runs his business, the way that he runs his country. Because the thing is, they don't have much to complain about there. Not at all. I mean, you're left reaching and scraping for things to complain about. Oh, he doesn't like Mexicans. He never said he doesn't like Mexicans. Oh, he's a racist. He never said anything remotely racist. Oh, he doesn't like illegal immigrants. Yeah, neither do I. We all voted for him. All right? And it's not to say I don't like illegal immigrants. I don't like immigrants in this country who are not documented. I'd rather they be documented. And if they get documented, I don't care that they're in this country at all. All right, but that is a problem. And people keep reaching for these little, oh, he hates this, oh, he hates women, oh, he grabs pussies, oh, this and that. It's all It's all very, very misguided, is what it is, right? Because basically he does none of this. Now, you could take anything that I say on my little channel, cut it up, edit it up, spin it up, and have me saying any sort of Hitler stuff that you want. This is what the television does. This is why people are so upset at him. All right. Meanwhile, these people, they don't have the heart for whatever reason to listen to an entire speech in its entirety and tell me all the little things that were wrong with his speech. Because I've heard his speeches before. All right, we're going to wrap it up like this. I've heard Donald Trump's speeches before. They're very reminiscent of a man that y'all might recall by the name of JFK. All right. That's not to say he's copying him. I'm saying it's very reminiscent of the hope. The rhetoric that is used by Donald Trump might as well be the same exact speeches JFK did, all right? That rhetoric. But, you know, it's definitely flying under the radar with some of y'all. Some of y'all can get your 5-second clips, your 7-second clips of what Donald Trump said, how it's cut up, see it as a racist, and now you feel like a good person because you don't like Donald Trump. You're a good person like that. All right, good going. All right, but we're going to finish out on this note. It should be, and it isn't, it should be a priority for every American to support the president in his actions, and at the same time, it should be the priority of any American president to support the desires of the American people. All right, that's not the case, and it should be the case. People are whining and crying about all sort of things like, oh, this isn't fair. Oh, it's not fair. Oh, it's not fair. Meanwhile, y'all don't have ears to hear because Donald Trump told you this isn't fair. This whole election, do I have to, I mean, I don't have time to bring up the clips, but you can go ahead and Google the clips of Donald Trump talking about the election being rigged. Absolutely. All right. The primary over there on the Democratic side, absolutely rigged. And you have to be absolutely blind to not see that. You have to be absolutely blind to see that. Bernie Sanders beat the ever-loving dog shit about a Hillary Clinton. For show. For show. Yeah, and still she got the candidacy, didn't she? Yeah, and still Bernie Sanders backed off like a little baby back rib son of a bitch, didn't he? Didn't he back off into the corner and not say a damn word? Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders supporters were all up in arms talking about, oh, this is a rigged election. Bernie Sanders said not a mumbling word. Not a mumbling word. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's over here saying whatever he wants. Talking about that election was rigged, this election was rigged. It only happened to be a landslide that I was blessed enough to win out, because in landslides you really can't rig them. It's hard to manipulate landslides. All right, Donald Trump's the only one talking about, yeah, this system is rigged. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, the president doesn't do what the American people want him to do. Yeah, the American people are completely disenfranchised. Yeah, we are going to have to change that. Things are going to have to change. We had a president talking about change for 8 years, saw not a damn thing. We're going to have change now, though. We're going to have change now. Oh, and believe it or not, I mean, it's been a year, and I could look back and see hella change. Maybe I'm just making that up in my mind, because I'm an avid Donald Trump supporter, right? Because I'm an avid Nazi, Hitler, bigot. I hate everything. I hate everybody, and I want everybody in jail. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is striving to do. And obviously, he's doing that in spades. Obviously, he's meant to burn down America because he's intolerant. This is the stage in which people have gotten to with their mental disorders and their retardation. Everybody in this country should want, at the very least, the president to feel safe and secure, because that very directly affects our own individual safety and security. Do you want to live and operate in a country where the president gets shot up and replaced. I'm bringing this up because it's not like a maybe scenario. It's looking like a very likely scenario. Do you want to live in a country where that shit is up for grabs? It's no longer some sort of democratic process. It's people get killed, and Hillary Clinton still wants her spot up in the presidency. This is how mentally unstable things have gotten. Hillary Clinton needs to go sit in a room and go net and shut the hell up. Yet and still, you still have people crying. And that's what I want to show you. The year in review is people crying, people devastated, to the point of what? To the point of what? Maybe perhaps killing the president. They might be that emotional. They might feel like victims to the point of murderous rage. All right. You have to understand, for those who are not keeping tally, Donald Trump, behind the scenes, is making some moves that nobody ever attempted to make in the presidency. There are people who want him dead, and they're patiently looking for their little opportunity to make it happen, because they feel like when they make it happen, those people who are glued to the television, who are literally crying about how Donald Trump is devastating their entire world, well, those people, they'll jump up for joy. They will jump up for joy at the announcement of the president being shot in his dome. This is how deep the social disorder is. Donald Trump is not a god. Donald Trump does not need to be worshipped. Everybody with any sense in their head wants their own country to be better. They want their own country to be great. Perhaps great again. It's January the 2nd, and we're balls deep up in the tribulation, y'all. And I'll holler at y'all later. 2018, I'll holler at y'all.